Welcome to another edition of Islanders Insider. I'm Stephen King. Today we're coming to you from the locker room here on the campus of Texas A&M University Corpus Christi, as we're going to talk some Islander men's basketball with head coach Willis Wilson and Islander women's basketball with head coach Royce Chadwick. We also have a special feature coming up a little bit later about redshirt freshmen Kareem South and Kyle Brown of the men's basketball team. At this time, we are going to talk men's hoops. So, with the head coach, Coach Willis Wilson. How you doing, sir?
Doing well. How are you?
Very, very good. I tell you one thing, as I examine the overall picture, the Southland Conference in particular, it seems like, a lot of teams are off to some pretty good starts. Some of them started slow, but now they're coming back. Due to the parity this season, it seems like it's very wide open, and ultimately seeding in the tournament may not be that important this year. Just getting in is the most important part.
Well, at the halfway point, you really don't know what's going to happen at the end. Nobody's really run away with this thing. I think the leaders both have a couple losses. The next slot down, probably 3, and then there are a number of teams kind of vying just to make the field and kind of clustered there together. I think the significance of seeding will boil down to just how many games you're going to have to play to be able to win this thing. It's always tough to win a conference championship if you have to play 4 games in 4 nights. But if you have that opportunity to play fewer games, it makes a significant difference.
That's a great point there. Recently, you had a win at Lamar, and to this point, it had to be considered one of the most important wins of the year. In the movie Hoosiers, Gene Hackman had his team measure the height of the basket and the distance from to the free throw line, and they showed them that it's exactly the same measurement as it is at the one at home. Can you explain to me why it's not nearly as simple as that to win on the road?
Well, your routine is totally different. You don't have the fan support. For some reason in college basketball, the home team wins 75% of the time. That is a tough sled to hoe. That means you have to be very preventative with situations, and some of it just boils down to the emotion of the game. I think sometimes officials start playing to the crowd. Players play off of momentum. They play off of familiarity. There's this confidence factor just about being at home. I think it's proven out with our basketball team. We've been much better at home than we have on the road this year. So getting a win at Lamar was just a big feather in our cap and momentum for us coming into this homestand.
There is no doubt. Let me ask you a little bit about your complete team. And I'm not talking about your players, but your complete team, everybody that helps make this engine turn. Your support staff, they're definitely earning their money. Head athletic trainer Jerry Hilker, head strength and conditioning coach Lee Scott, integral parts of the formula. Jerry's had his hands full definitely managing injuries, while Lee, the body dynamics work he does with the team is pretty substantial. He does it without even the use of a basketball. There's no basketballs in the general vicinity when Lee is on the court. Talk about how their efforts are valued.
Well, you can't put enough weight on what those guys mean. Getting guys to the floor is one thing. Keeping them there is a totally different thing. And then you have this factor that when an injury does occur, those guys working together and working with our staff to be able to come up with the right formula to get guys back on the floor. That's just a challenge in itself. And what you find with injuries, that injuries are individual and they're isolated. So one guy has a hip injury, somebody else has a knee injury, somebody has a back injury or an ankle injury or a hand injury. That means that the things that you need to do to get them back in action are going to be very different. We're talking about cardiovascular issues, we're talking about strength issues, we're talking about just the things that allow players to recover day to day. The sort of factor aside from that really may be a bigger component is what you end up doing with your regulars, with the guys that are playing every day. And that's why the strength and conditioning and the nutritional aspect is so important. The role that Jerry plays in the training room of getting guys ready before practice and getting them the proper treatment after practice to keep those guys at an even keel and keep them on the floor is just, it is a major undertaking, and those guys have done a fabulous job for us, and they've really been challenged this year in that respect all around.
There's no doubt. Looking at some of the players on the floor, and in particular, your leading scorer, Rashawn Thomas, he recently surpassed John Jordan as the all-time leading scorer in Islanders history. And, now he's tracking Damon Watt's record for career rebounds. After the scoring record, the first one to congratulate him was, of course, John, via social media. considering he's tracking the rebounding record in the way I think he was aware of the scoring record, do you see that players in your experience kind of get a little bit antsy at times, and how do you kind of deal with that and kind of keep them grounded when they know that they're hovering near records?
Honestly, it's not anything that we ever talk about. We talk about team basketball. We talk about the things that we need to do as a team. I think individual players are always aware of those things. Their motivation generally is based upon their style and their personality. Some guys are low-key and they won't talk about it. Other guys are goal-oriented, so they'll write things down and they'll sort of mentally prepare themselves for games and numbers that they want to match. But ultimately, we continue to try to do all of this within the team concept. No individual record is won alone in a team sport. They're all won with the effort of the guys that are around you. And so I think to Rashawn's credit, he's really prepared him for some unbelievable opportunities over the last few years, including this year. And he also has good teammates around him that really honor his work and the time and effort that he puts into basketball.
Well, season, it's been solid to this point. Seems to be we'd be on a bit of a rise right now. Let's just keep it rolling as the Southland Conference action continues. Good luck, Coach.
Thank you.
Hey, at this time, let's check in with Shelby Hodges with an Islanders update.